Spin-off oddaja kritiškega posetka posladka bočen projekt imenovan MFRU31 ZALEDJA je podcast, ki bo v letu 2025 pokril izbrane umetniške festivale, ki se v Sloveniji odvijajo izven centralizirane prestolnice. Vsaka epizoda podcasta vsebuje uvodnjo predstavitev festivala ter krajše pogovore z izbranimi sodelujočimi umetnicami in umetniki. Poleg zvočnega gradiva projekt vključuje tudi pisno-likovno kritiko, ki nastaja v sodelovanju s spletno platformo za umetniško kritiko, platformo Koridor križišča umetnosti. Vsak festival bo namreč pokril po en pisec, ki se ukvarja z likovno kritiko in pisanjem na področju sodobne umetnosti.
Artists that have more critical stance toward technology. We invited artists that kind of use these esoteric aesthetics or symbols or ritual practice as a way to imagine or actually actively connect or create new systems. Conspiratorial thinking of how to work underground or kind of connect in other ways that are maybe different than we.
I think that was the moment of Elon Musk founding Doge, and then it became like this is fascist autocracy, this crazy, what can we do? What can artists do and how we put this together? And then the answer was esoteric ecotechnics, maybe thinking about ecosystems of technologies. Mariboru has many locations, but they are overbooked all the time, so you kind of have to roll the dice and embrace the fate and see what comes.
I've been working on problematics related to centralized social media platforms, especially focusing on how the design of these platforms are actually pushing people to give up even more of their data.
I was intrigued to see if the lipstick could be a semiconductor, if you could kind of receive radio. Lipsticks were made in bullet factories during the war. At the very beginning, the lipstick was a sign of resistance somehow, and it was it was even marketed by the US Army as a kind of a necessary item.
PowerPoint is the most beautiful medium that we have, as a human species.
Creating a cosmology of worshippers for the algorithm. So it's sort of, in the end, a social media platform is also a sort of cult. People tend to give agency to something that doesn't have an agency, again, the algorithm.
Nazi Germany banned cosmetics, so there was not allowed. It was almost as a kind of a revolt to the Weimar Republic, so all the cosmetics that the queers wear in Berlin and so on.
TikTok thread wife is always dressed up with Prada clothes or any other very expensive brand, and of course you realize that they're not just taking care of the house and the family, but they are also working for the platforms and double self-exploitation. This is my first war, I don't know how to dress, and if my Shine order doesn't arrive on time because of this stupid little war.
Discourse of the Luddites, they were not per se against technology, but they were against how they saw that technology was really destroying their communities.
Četrta epizoda po vrsti pritiče 31. ediciji mednarodnega festivala računalniške umetnosti, na kratko MFRU, ki se odvija v Mariboru, pripravlja pa ga Mladinski kulturni center Maribor. Letošnji naslov festivala je Ezoterična, ekotehnika, Iracionalna komputacija in zarotniško mreženje. Že drugo leto zapored festival kurirata avstrijsko-slovenski kuratorski tandem Davide Bevilacqua iz Linca in Lara Mejač iz Ljubljane. Pogovor z njima in izbranimi umetniki poteka v angleškem jeziku.
Is this a chance, the color of the mic, or is it curated?
This is a very good way.
Maybe for the start, so you are curating the festival this year for the second executive year. Maybe tell me, how did this collaboration begin?
We got invited separately to join the festival. and quickly realized, talking to each other, that we were actually quite interested in general, in mutual forms of collaboration, and like not everybody bringing a topic, but seeing what everybody is interested in. And this was also valid for last year's festival, and which was more about economies, ecologies, and communities, and system of kind of well-being, how to create value, nourishing community. And then after the end of the festival last year, we were about to start this year, and we did the same process again, kind of checking in, what did we think, what did we want to do, and what were the topics that were kind of emerging. And as we know, Trump number 2, Elon Musk, and stuff like this. So it came quite clear quite quickly, but in this collaborative way, yeah.
We kind of see this second edition, it is connected to the first one in the topics that we are interested in from curatorial aspect, but we this year also with the venue and how we formed it goes into we are exploring similar topics but through different approaches or different positions than last year.
So maybe also like from the very beginning, so you were invited to curate this festival, or did you apply to some open call, or how did this became to be?
The 𝗘𝗙𝗙, the organizer, they were, last year was the 30th edition, so they had this anniversary idea, and they really wanted to expand it to also international curators. And how they do it usually is they invite curators for 3 years, so you kind of have a 3-year time like to kind of be part of the festival. And because of the 30th edition, they kind of had an idea of doing it with 2 curators, because it was the birthday year.
Oh, okay.
And that's why they kind of invited Davide and me separately. We didn't know each other before, so it was kind of
They coupled you up.
Yeah, but you never know. I think especially like curating, it is specific, so it is a gamble always if you're gonna have the same vision or the same way of working. Then we met, we talked, we had a similar approach. Then we also had an option to create our own team. So we invited, it is kind of a Linz Ljubljana team. So we invited people to join us, and now I'm really happy that for the second year we are kind of the same team, which I think it's also really apparent then in how we do the festival and how we, like organizational wise, it is great to work with people in that way. So I think we were really lucky actually with our match, but also with the team. Yeah.
I think like what I found very resonating from, for example, Lara's practice, but I think I see it also in mine, is this work a bit through conversations with artists, like recursively an exchange, talk with them, and then kind of inviting every time new positions, but to works and practices that one knows very well. So we actually started like this, showing each other, this is what we did in the last couple of years, this is what we are looking and we are talking about with people, and this naturally made this kind of north-south connection towards Austria, towards Ljubljana, towards Italy, and then, but also trying to have it rooted here. So I think this kind of work also takes a bit of time, and we see now the results, I think, after the second year, that, now we know the dynamics much better, and we also question a lot ourselves and what we do and why we do things in a way. So we have this self-criticism very strong, also looking at what was last year, and build on the top of this. I mean, there are other ways of doing things that are much more discourse-oriented or topic-oriented, and you kind of feel you take a very important topic and you bring it somewhere, and like sometimes like a monolith, and we try to kind of build it from the ground somehow. So I will describe it like this in a way.
Speaking about the topics, could you elaborate on this year's theme, or maybe the title of the festival?
So the title, Ezoteric Ekotehnik, we kind of started, so as I said, I see the connection with last year in a way that we are always interested in artists, thinkers that maybe have like more critical stance toward technology. With that, we kind of also follow the tradition of the festival, because 31 year long history, it was always very skeptical towards new technologies, which is quite rare with this time span to have a festival that was so progressive in that time. And we always kind of also thinking about the position of the festival within Maribor, but also within discourse, like in a broader sense. So I think the starting point, because of our curatorial practice, which is kind of, I think for both, kind of oriented towards that, but also following the ideas of the festival, this kind of came very naturally to involve practices like that. So in that way, I kind of see the continuation from the last year. But this year, with esoteric ecotechnique, we were kind of thinking about in the times that we live in, which are very bizarre and like also very heavy, the news that we get, the situations that we observe online all the time. People like individually can feel very powerless in a way of these global dynamics, which are so abstract in a way, or just so bigger than we can comprehend. Because with this feeling of powerlessness, this was kind of the starting point to rethink it, to think about different systems, to rebel against this feeling. So we invited artists that kind of use these esoteric aesthetics or symbols or ritual practice as a way to imagine or actually actively connect or create new systems or new ways of kind of connecting. So I would say the kind of the connecting line, it's this conspiratorial thinking of how to work underground or kind of connect in other ways that are maybe different than we think. So I think this is kind of the framework in which we worked, and then the artists really approach it in a different ways from different points. But yeah, this was kind of the starting point, how we started the team.
That's pretty much everything we have to say. I think we liked the title, came very quickly. I think it's funny sometimes. I mean, I struggle a lot with titles, but we put it together very quickly, and then everything started with this end of the last festival, and then kind of Trump wins the election. This is that was pretty much the moment, and looking about these effects. And then we quickly had this idea of this is crazy, it's going to be crazy. I mean, the genocide was already going on, the war in Ukraine, everything. And so we saw this not from one day to the other, but that was pretty much, I think that was the moment of Elon Musk founding Doge, and then it became this is fascist autocracy, this crazy, and we started looking for this, actually, what can we do, what can artists do, and how we put this together. And then somehow the answer was esoteric ecotechnics in this maybe thinking about ecosystems of technologies. That's the ecotechnic. So it's less about ecologies, but more about ecosystems of technologies that are itself esoteric in the sense of kind of separated from these other dynamics. So looking in the micro scale of the, let's say, social networking. Social networking is actually me and you sitting in a room somehow, no? And what can be the technological layer about this is somehow that something that can change the nature of things, change nature around us, but it doesn't have to be technological per se to be a social moment. No? So we go really from 0 degree and try to build up from somehow scratch. And the idea of keeping it secret, this esotericism, these occult languages and symbols, is something that was very interesting, because we saw it in a lot of movements which are maybe not ready to be public and mainstream, that you have to be hidden, you have to kind of hide and to get ready for that and formulate what is the situation going to be. So we were looking really at this focus and finding artists that were, I don't know, we didn't know what would be the resistance. I don't know if there will be this kind of movements or whatever, but also aesthetically, that we kind of put the seeds of this, or explore the seeds, not as a political act, but to explore the seeds of what would mean also as aesthetic or social aspect of being in this moment of we don't want to be super visible, but we are active. Everybody's active, and we think and model cultural actions.
How did you choose the artists, or did you already have some artists in mind when deciding on the team?
Yeah, like Davide mentioned, we kind of always, I think, start from our curatorial practices or our past experiences with artists that we worked with or know, or so it is kind of a combination of different art scenes that then come together. But what was really interesting is that when we were exploring these topics, this esoteric moment, it's very trendy in a way right now in contemporary art, or was now for a few years, but a lot of practices go more into just using maybe the symbolism or aesthetics, or without being very critical towards it, or just using AI, for example, to kind of just tell the future, or there is a lot of these kind of positions. So when we did our research, we were kind of very interested more in these systems of connections and kind of artists that are really trying to rethink the systems or rethink some networks and kind of be more resilient or more critical towards the topic. So I think this was kind of the pattern that we followed. And then it was really interesting because we came across the research by Ariana Forte, who has an exhibition. She had one exhibition in Berlin, and now she's doing another one in October. Also one curator, Maria Laura Guindi. So we kind of saw some similar research being done, and then we contacted them, so we kind of had exchange with them. It was really interesting that within our curatorial research we were also doing some conspiratorial network with curators that were kind of thinking the same, and now we're also doing one publication with Ariana Forte, so it's kind of also through not just showcasing or just having the exhibition, but kind of trying also in our practice to find new connections. And also the festival in itself, it is the moment where you kind of get people together, have this exchange. So the festival in itself is like you could see it as conspiratorial networking moment in a way. So that's how we also then did the discursive program with that in mind.
Very concretely, we started with lists of artists that we knew or we already work with that would answer or explore one of the aspects of esoteric ecotechnics that we wanted to highlight, like somebody like 𝗘𝗏ia Braga, who is working with the algorithms on TikTok and the manipulation that happens there, but also artists like 𝗘𝗏𝗙𝗃𝗃, the 𝗘𝗏𝗙𝗃𝗃 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏, that are more like touching on this, on something that we don't touch, like this esoteric as new wave, new age, weird narrations. This is also part of this, but we kind of try to look in another direction, but they have it, so that's important, and they build on a critical part over the top. Yeah, and then like kind of looking back on artists that we worked with already, each of us individually, or people that we have a common exchange. And then we could go through the list and say like this we discovered in this moment and the other. But for example, the two other events with Maria Laura Guidini and Ariana Forte that were kind of also some sort of reference for us, we share quite a good amount of artists. So while you were typing, esoteric ritual technologies, whatever, and within the art context, you will find always these other two examples done in the recent past, and then you will, and this we discovered halfway through. So we had our list and we saw their list and we're like, oh, we share a lot. We should talk. Maybe we kind of agree on things, and this is what happens. So yeah, this pragmatically we had some ideas, but the title kind of, or the intention came first. But being embedded in this network of people and practices, it was relatively quick to have a final list of participation. Then we had like for the program just to say like, we really want to have this one little part that is not happening or this is not covered. Like, okay, we talk about resistance and looking for alternatives, but then concretely we miss something, some action. So we said, okay, there is this one movement now to abandon Windows 10, which is happening at the end of October, and then we make a workshop for Linux operating system to kind of abandon really the big tech, So that's something that was missing, and then we put it up at the end. So we work more like in this patchwork flow.
Last year, the main exhibition was hosted in Velika Kavarna, and this year it is set in the Minaret Church. How did you decide on this venue, or how the venue came to be, and what significance does it bring to the festival?
That was very pragmatic. Last year we had some troubles with locations. In a way, we were having a location, and this changed very last minute, and we got Velika Kavarna, which was a great space, but somehow the topic was already there, and it was our topic. Initially it was too connected to maybe a shopping mall as a location, let's say, and then we found this discrepancy. And for this time I say a contradiction now, after that festival we said, okay, we cannot be so dependent if the location is so tricky, because it can change and we are not on the spot, it's difficult. We do something that can go in air quote any location, no? So let's do like this, esoteric ecotechnics. Cool, we don't care about the location, we will do something neutral. And then somebody came up with a church. And they said there is a church which is open, and then we said, well, sounds like a good plan. So it was a bit independent. Maribor has many locations, but they are overbooked all the time. So you kind of have to roll the dice and embrace the fate and see what comes. And but this, like, in a way it fits back into the practice. Like, you get what you get, and you morph some topics and some location, or you enhance what the location allows you to do. If it was a conference center and that was what we get, we would have probably done different things, maybe more corpo, I don't know. But so I think it was a coincidence, let's say, and we played with a coincidence.
We kind of really wanted to expand more to the city, so to have more locations, to kind of because last year we had just one, which was really big, and it makes sense to have the program there. But yeah, this year, because how we saw the festival also from last year is to really do a lot of cooperations, or we started, for example, working with the Faculty of Architecture in Maribor with the students last year, and then this year we really wanted to keep working with them. And this year one of the location is their exhibition space that they had at the faculty, for example, or to expand it to Medianux Gallery, to bring 𝗘𝗙 from Ljubljana to Maribor in another location. So Minority Church, of course, it's now very connected to the topic. It's also great because I think some artists and some works really work well in that space. And then equally important are the other locations also in the whole festival program. And yeah, this was our wish to kind of expand it.
Maybe tell me more about this exhibition of the group that is in focus in Medianux.
Mm-hmm.
In focus as I don't know if we can talk about traditions or something that always happen, but like last year it was about this 30 years anniversary, and looking back in the catalogs we always had a bit of retrospective kind of work, which is very important, and the festival has been doing it for many years. So after doing the 30 years anniversary retrospective, we felt like we don't want to fish from the past one specific position or so, but we felt that this was an occasion to kind of also open up and take something that some collective work or some artistic practice that deals with longer temporalities, like starting maybe from a time where maybe this contemporary digital condition was not exactly as we know it now, but then it's also like critically looking towards the future. And this after a long discussion, we felt like that the Stadtwerkstatt was one of these good example. I mean, conflict of interest maybe, but it happens that I work within the building of the Stadtwerkstatt in Linz for my other job, and it took a long time to discuss and see alternatives, because I mean, to me it felt very close, a bit almost too close, but then it felt more and more logical to invite the collective, which is a collective that started from a squat in 1979 in Austria, and always work with media and technologies as an expansion of the body, going into the ether, into the spectrum of the waves and radio, but never as a content. You know, you will never end up as a content creator. You make TV shows or you make radio shows. No, you make TV, you make the media, the medium as a part of an artistic practice. So you questions that mediality, and this is very special. They do it in a way that is like the anti para-institutional. So they have this ambiguous and uncertain relation with actually being the headquarter of the alternative scene. You know, you are an institution yourself. They will kill me if we had discussions about this institution role, but they don't see themselves as an institution for the others. Of course, this is like a lighthouse of how to do things, but they keep on working on the archive, even if it's almost 50 years. So they keep on digging stuff out from the boxes and thinking and reactivating that, and they do it every year. So like this felt for us like a perfect example of historic work, like rooting your work in a practice of critique from 45 years, like from the before the digital age as we know. So that was the decision, and we thought it was a maybe good idea.
And if we want to see a future a bit, so next year, the third year of curating the festival, can we have a teaser? Like maybe do you already thinking about, within your curatorial practice, as you mentioned before, you are basically probably already have the idea about the next year?
The future stays uncertain. The work that we have been doing here till now, and we are doing it here, stays a bit uncertain. We don't have certainty of what is gonna happen next year. I mean, also this year with this ministry, we all, like probably the listeners will know what we are talking about the changing in the funding and the stuff, and ourselves we are not sure what is gonna be, what will be the conditions or what will be the ideas, and Maribor seems like there will be maybe some changes next year. So we haven't actually discussed about that. We have for sure, or at least I have for sure, plans for next year in terms of topics and research, and also Lara has. We have been exchanging about this. But yeah, as we didn't last year, we didn't know what will be the next year after last year's festival. We don't know now. So I think this will be like finishing this one, we close, and then we settle down and see what comes up. And if it's not MFRU, I'm 100% sure that the topic will continue because we see this urgency. And but yeah, there are some conditions that we do not know yet.
Yeah, I think we really have to finish the festival and have some reflection. It's hard to think about the future.
But topic-wise, I wanted to do something about love. In general, like after all these things, something about love.
That's a very nice ending. Is there anything you would maybe like to add?
No,
I think that was it.
Thank you very much for coming here to me and to talk about the festival, and probably hopefully see you next year.
Thank you.
Next we have with us artist Ioana Moser with Arsenic Ballerinas.
Arsenic Ballerina is a research project that was started this year, and it consists of several tactile instruments with cosmetics and heavy metals. It's an inquiry into the history of cosmetics, toxicology, and their entanglement with the development of radio technology as well as war.
And the main objects are lipsticks.
Yes, so what you will see in the exhibition, it's actually their performance instruments that were performed during the years. Two of them belong to another project that is affiliated named Četrta, where I perform cosmetics live on stage and transform cosmetics into noise machines. And the other piece, which is the centerpiece, is the new prototype for this new research project, where I developed 7 lipsticks from heavy metal powders, and they resonate from their inner toxicities.
How come that you decided to pick lipstick in particular and not, I don't know, eyeliner, maybe?
Because I think the history of lipstick is one of the most fascinating histories compared to, in the entire history of boudoir and makeup application is quite fascinating. But when it comes to the lipstick, it's kind of neglected as an object of cheap virtue or kind of trivial device, but it actually bears a lot of very interesting political entanglements in all the history.
So you are also interested in bourgeois and stuff like that, or how did you come to this theme?
Well, I research a lot toxicity and kind of because I work with electronics and engineering, I have discovered recently that cosmetics have a lot of heavy metals inside, and especially lipsticks, so even today. And in this context, I was intrigued to see if the lipstick could be a semiconductor, like if you could kind of receive radio with the lipstick. And then that's where the premises of the project started. I was like kind of trying to see what entanglements are between the objects I solder and the makeup I apply to my face. I also come from ballet, so I was a ballerina for 10 years, and I did grow up with cosmetics on my face, so there is kind of a personal inquiry into the problem.
So now when you're like buying lipstick, you're checking all the ingredients on the back side. More knowledge as an average lipstick applier.
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I do buy organic cosmetics and I do make them myself, which is also what will happen here in the church a little bit later.
Yes, tell me more about this. So at the evening there will be a performance, but throughout the day you said you will also...
It will not be a performance, is a little bit misleading the program. It's more like an activation. So I will make a lipstick bar and I will prepare cosmetic recipes, and people can come to me and they can make their own lipsticks and mix their own colors and mold them in these bullet shapes. And at the end, we apply the lipstick together. So it's more like a workshop, you can say, or lipstick bar experience rather than a performance. But it's also a performance.
So yeah, you mentioned the bullet shape.
So this has to do with this history of the object, actually. Lipsticks were made in bullet factories during the war. And they would also, like, at the very beginning, the lipstick was a sign of, like, resistance somehow. And it was a necessary, it was even marketed by the US Army as a kind of a necessary item to be sold during the war. And then at some point, when they ran out of metal, people would donate their lipstick tubes to the cosmetic companies to melt them into bullets. So there was like a really big entanglement with bullet factories and the lipstick cases. This is also why they end up looking from the same somehow, also the materials, also the way they molded them. They were actually, there's an instance of a factory that was making both, so the molds and the bullets as well as the lipsticks. And then during the Second World War, there was this myth which came from the fact that Nazi Germany banned cosmetics, so there was not allowed. It was almost as a kind of a revolt to the Weimar Republic, so all the cosmetics that the queers wear in Berlin and so on, this were all prohibited. And then there was some kind of a myth that came more or less true, that red lips would be a sign against fascism. So people started to wear red lips. There was Elizabeth Arden, some factories, some brands used this as a marketing tool as well to sell more lipsticks. So they developed shades of red that would be Victory Red or Montazura Red, which would also be related to this army outfit. Also during the Blitz, women in Great Britain, they had this saying which went on the newspapers, which was called "Lick Hitler with lipstick." So it was a kind of a sign of defiance that, okay, given though we are being bombarded, we still have lipstick. So it's a sign of, I don't know, elegance somehow. Of course, lipstick has a very problematic history in many ways. So this is just one side of it. But this is why the bullet shapes. That's why it looks like a bullet till today.
That's quite interesting because so many people obviously wear lipstick, but so few know about this huge history. And also I read on your page or about this project about this young lady operators. Maybe tell me more about this aspect and about these friendship cards. What are they?
Yes, so another aspect that I was really intrigued was, okay, this entanglement of these women wearing lipstick, but also the fact that before the war, during the war, and after the war, it kind of enabled some of the women to get in closer to technology, especially radio. So most of them became spies or radio operators. And then that's also the lipstick spy, the 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗏 agent lipstick. There's a lot of different interesting lipsticks being developed, some with cyanide, some and so on. But I was mostly interested into this very early radio operators, so like amateur operators. This is the 1920s, latest, maybe early 20th century. And it seems that there was a very large community of women that were very young, like 16, and that would kind of learn how to build radio hardware and then make transmissions. And some of them managed to get registered with an amateur license, like a ham radio license, across the world. So, for instance, in Romania, there's 𝗘𝗏 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏 𝗔𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃, one of the first women that builds radios and gets registered. And this was kind of a blind spot because it was not really considered that you had to be skilled somehow to do this radio operator stuff. So women had a little bit of leverage in those early days doing this. And then there were these networks formed across the world where they would send each other signals to just communicate. So to tell about their lives, and then they would have Morse codes at the very beginning because there was no voice transmission. So they would have a number that they would identify themselves as being a young lady operator. So, which of course during those times also you had to have a special code included into your radio operator license, which would indicate that you're a woman, which is also very sexist somehow. So it would be like IL would be this young lady inclusion in the operator. But they would have this number 33, which would mean with mutual friendship from one operator to the other. So that's how they would identify themselves, typing number 33 with Morse, and then they would just talk to each other. And I have found cards from all across the world. So from Asia to Eastern Europe to America to Alaska, I don't know, everywhere. Like they existed. Unfortunately, there's not official records because, they were never really registered. So what we have left is these friendship cards, which is what people used to send to each other once they established a radio connection. They would kind of keep a memory by sending each other a card.
So this huge research of yours started already in 2018 with this project Coquette, or was this your interest before? Maybe how it is connected to your other work?
Yes, I mean, I did this. Coqueta was one of my first performance pieces, and it didn't go really deep into research of this kind of mineralogy, and because then there's the lead part and so on, but it was more like a performance piece. I was learning electronics and I was building these instruments around the ritual of cosmetic appliance, which would be a really torturous performance. I would destroy my face and make really harsh noise, so it wouldn't be like a pretty sight to say. I guess it was kind of a way for me to deal with my background and also where I'm coming from, and also try to kind of see how to position myself in those early days when was not so many sound artists that were working with electronics, being also women and so on. So I don't know, it just came from this history of ballet. I was very drawn to it. And then I performed it a lot. And I knew I wanted to expand it to what I do now, which is research. So I knew I wanted to get deeper into the research behind why do I feel so attached, for instance, to lipsticks? Why do I find it so seductive, or what's the history behind? And of course, once you start to dig, the history is absolutely incredible, how much depth this super trivial object carries, So I was really drawn to show that, and also the fact that it's very ambivalent. Sometimes it's an object of liberation, and sometimes it's really an object of oppression. So it's like a technological tool almost. It jumps very quickly from one side to the other along the years of history.
Yeah, now also it's maybe coming a bit out of fashion, because now it's popular for people to tattoo their lips.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a lip shade or something. When in order not to be bothered by applying lipstick and not to get all the toxins in, they tattoo your whole lips, and it lasts for about 3 years or something. But you know,
yeah, these practices existed during the history as well, where they would they would tint the lips in different colors. I think now it's falling out of popularity. There's always kind of circles of it, because now with all this conservatism, the woman is not seen, how to say, we are going back to this idea of purity, of the white skin, the perfect skin, something very
natural,
virginal and natural somehow. And of course, red lips is a bold statement. It was always a bold statement. It was always associated with bad morale. In the 1920s, only prostitutes were allowed to wear, for instance, cosmetics. So it was always a kind of a statement. And now it's falling out of fashion because of the rise of fascism, basically. And this is also why I do this performance, where I want people to put red lips and to have fun with color and, experience this object, which,
What colors will you have?
I bought a lot of colors, so I can experiment with more
different shades of red, or also
yes,
black or purple?
I also bought black and things because you can tint them, but I will prepare red lipsticks, but people can also mix and make yellow lipsticks or green lipsticks or blue or what they desire.
Okay, for the end, maybe the project is described as still in progress. Is there anything else that you want to try?
Yes, the research has been finalized. I have divided now the project into 2 parts, which will be presented next year. Arsenic Ballerinas as an installation will be presented at CTM in Berlin in January, where I will make a swarm of 200 lipsticks floating and resonating from radio. And the other part, which I'm developing now, is working on these aspects of radioactivity and the entanglements, like basically this moment in time where cosmetics were also radioactive, so there were also radioactive lipsticks, and looking at the fascination of radioactivity through uranium glass. So I've acquired a lot of beauty products from uranium glass, and I'm working on getting the radiation out of them and presenting them as such, to kind of discuss this kind of seductive desire for war, which starts to kind of grow in the political masses now, and it's a little bit scary to look at it. So I'm kind of investigating this now also.
Is this dangerous, like extracting uranium from...
No, it's not actually. It's these glasswares were produced in Czech Republic, in Bohemia, for a very long time, and they do have a level of radioactivity, but it's very low. It's like a bunch of big bananas, but of course they are still radioactive. So the Geiger counter will click if you keep it in proximity.
In what way does your project connect with this year's festival?
I mean, I think it's quite well-fitting in somehow, because I was also really excited to be presented in a Catholic church. I come from Orthodox country, but it was nice because one side of this lipstick history was that it was also prohibited by church, and it would be a sign of witchcraft. And I heard that the last witch in Maribor was maybe the last burnt witch was in Maribor. So presenting a set of lipsticks in the altar of a church, it's quite satisfying, I would say. And I think it matches this idea of entanglement between what we think is esoteric and technological. So these ecotechnics that they made as a team.
Up next in conversation is fia Braga with Platform Workshippers.
It's great.
Is this your first time at Maribor?
At Maribor, yes. I've already exhibited in Slovenia once in 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. I don't know if you pronounce it like this. Speculum, yes. And then I've been in Ljubljana a few times, but Maribor, first time, yes.
Okay. How do you like it?
I love it. Honestly, it really has a really good vibe, and wherever you go there is something happening. In this moment actually there are many festivals going on, so that's also interesting, and different kinds. And then, of course, here in the bubble of the exhibition with the other artists, I'm having a great time.
Okay, tell me something so I can check the sound.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Sofia. How are you?
Perfect.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you very much for coming. Could you briefly please introduce your project? So the title is Platform Worshipers.
Yes. So since 2015, I've been working on the problematics related to centralized social media platforms, especially focusing on how the design of these platforms are actually pushing people to give up even more of their data. And then in 2023, I've been invited by the Net Culture Association 𝗟R𝗿 𝗏𝗃 based in Linz, which Davide Bevilacqua, the curator of this exhibition, is part of, to take part to the 𝗟R𝗿 Research Lab. And during this research lab, I developed the project Platform Worshipers. What I wanted to do, it was to somehow map and create a cosmology of the workers within the platform TikTok. So how also work is perceived within these environments, and how sometimes is seen also as a sort of let's say a sort of way to escape the job market, how it is today. But often people that work within the platform, they don't realize that they're actually being exploited. So within the archetypes of this cosmology, we have different characters, let's say. So for instance, one of those is the creator, and then it's like this figure that we all know, that is the person publishing within the platforms every day, and they also earn money through sponsorship and so on. But then I also have some characters that are like the lurkers, which it could be us, for instance, the majority of people within the platform that are just scrolling but not actively uploading any videos. And even by doing this, you are actually working for the platform, because you are basically giving up the information of what you are interested in and so on. So there are many different kinds of archetypes that I found. And the project consists in a map, which here in the exhibition is a 5-meter long diagram, let's say, which is a bit of a mix between different kinds of diagram, also like the tree of life, so something that a bit more mystical, but also the more, let's say, schematic diagram to actually understand where is the positions of these worshippers.
So also, besides that big diagram, we also have a screen,
Yeah.
where you actually present all these archetypes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You already mentioned the creator and maybe the one who scrolls. These are probably two of the most logical archetypes, but tell me more about one archetype that is more obscure, maybe.
Yes. So I think one that mostly upset people, and when they see, they're actually always telling me, I've never seen this on the platform, is the exploited beggar. So these are normally people that come from a situation of distress, and then there are middlemen that are selling them SIM so that they can stream online to get rewards. So through these streamings, we see these families actually begging for, in terms of TikTok, these are like these rewards are called roses or coins and so on. But the reality is that actually they don't get all these rewards, but then TikTok and these middlemen take the 70% of what they are asking. And then talking about worshipping and working, I found this one of the most probably sad parts of exploitations of work within the platform, especially because these people don't actually realize how it works and how they are used most of the time, and they see in these people maybe, and also in the platform, a sort of hope to gain something, and then in the end are exploited twice, let's say. And okay, this was maybe like a bit sad, but maybe if I can jump to another one that maybe is also more known from the people, is a phenomenon that was quite hyped this year, and it's the thread wife. So they
get their own archetype.
Yeah, of course. And I found it very interesting because it's a way of somehow re-enchanting this old stereotypical way in which a woman would live in the house, so cooking. But in the TikTok thread wife is always dressed up with Prada clothes or any other very expensive brand. And of course, you realize that they're not just taking care of the house and the family, but they are also working for the platforms and working with sponsors. So I found it interesting as a way also in this case of double self-exploitation. From one side is the woman that is somehow doing the work care without getting paid, but at the same time trying to use these moments to actually get their payment through the platform or by doing advertisement for products that she's showing while, for instance, cooking or doing anything else. So
your research probably included a vast amount of TikTok scrolling, right?
Yes, I'm a professional doom scroller since years now. Of course, it takes a long time, and most of the time I actively scroll, even when I'm not working on a project, just to look what's going on. And every time I see something that I think, okay, this could be interesting for my research, I download it and I save it and archive it. So I have a big archive, and in the moment I decide to start working on a specific project, I go through my archive, and then at the same time I also keep scrolling, and then the project comes to life, let's say.
So videos that we see at the exhibitions are from your archive?
Yes, and most of them are from 2023 because the project started in 2023, and then I implemented it with other videos that I archived throughout this, also 2024, 2025.
Because the TikTok is still somehow on the rise, new archetypes are born every month probably.
Yes, and so also in the installation you can see these new archetypes I've added, like World War III, Get Ready With Me, which of course is like a hype from this year where people are just showing, okay, how I'm gonna dress. If this is my first war, I don't know how to dress. And then they would talk about how they would like, what kind of dress they would put or makeup they would use, and some of those videos are a bit more comedy, so they would really dress up like there was I don't remember how they are called, this from Star Wars, the one dressed up all in white.
Oh, like the stormtroopers.
Yeah, exactly. So there is like this guy actually dressing up like one of those, and then you would have just people talking while doing their skincare routines and saying, for instance, in one of the videos, a girl is literally saying, and if my shine order doesn't arrive on time because of this stupid little war, I like make a mess. Like, so it's really interesting to see how I feel like people detach, it's like desensitized from what is happening sometimes, or at least this is how what they want to show within the platform. And I think it's also because somehow they are emotionally, they cannot hold anymore what they keep seeing, because of course also within TikTok, by scrolling, it's a lot about like what's going on. And I feel like one thing is to read an article about it, or like maybe watch a documentary, and one thing is like keep scrolling and seeing lots of video to the level that for you this is normality and you don't even understand anymore what's going on, or you're totally desensitized. And I think this is a sort also of a reaction to that somehow.
And how did you approach TikTok? Because if you are using TikTok in a particular way, TikTok will show you very specific things. How can you then do the research? Because there are probably some things that TikTok will never show you because you are, this age, this gender, this nationality, whatever. Some content is hidden away from you probably when maybe some other person will see it right away. Did you use like different phones and different profiles? So
actually I've used an application that an artist made. It's Ben Grosser made this app called I think it was TikToker Randomizer or something. So basically by using this extension you would it would randomize the algorithm so that you would get also videos from that were meant to like not maybe for your target as a person. And that was very useful to use it. And then I also like have different accounts and yes. And most of the time I also scroll through TikTok of other people, like my friends, also just to see like, okay, what are you getting here? And to understand also, okay, what are the archetypes or the trends that we are somehow all seeing? And then, of course, there are the niches for every person.
Is this also the reason why you choose TikTok in particular and not maybe, I don't know, Instagram or maybe Snapchat? What are kids into these days?
So maybe Twitch or I don't know, like now what do they have? I think I've been working with Instagram for many years, and right now I feel like it's actually not so relevant anymore. And it's funny because I mean I'm a millennial, so my friends, most of my friends too, and when they send me some real Instagram reels and I see them, I say, okay, yeah, I saw it 3 years ago on TikTok. So for me, it's like Instagram is just not really up to date right now, and that's why I feel like TikTok for me is just more interesting because it feels like everything is happening before. And and it also has so many more layers because other than the short videos, then you would have also the streamings and also there are the stories and so on. So let's say that I find it a more not just active platform but also more international, maybe global. Like you really see Instagram somehow it feels always so related just to the Occidental world, and TikTok it always feels like I can see more of what's going on actually in the world somehow.
Why do you think this topic is important in a way that you hope that people will maybe pay more attention to the archetypes and to maybe be aware of, even if they are doom scrolling, that they are somehow present in a way? What are they doom scrolling? Or do you think this is like a lost game? It's just, okay, this is just how it is. I just draw you a diagram for a little bit of fun and a little bit of truth. So
no, I don't think it's a lost game. And actually what I want to underline is that within the hidden power dynamics in the social media platforms, of course, there are the power is divided in more people, like in more structures, let's say, and then we have these operational companies that work, the institutions, non-institutional companies that work for the internet, and so we have like a Meta, TikTok, and so on. But then we also realize that us as user, we have power because we are the one that are actually deciding what to publish and publishing. So in this way, most of my project was also a way to tell people you can actually work to disrupt the platform. So what if we suddenly stop uploading what the platform wants us to upload, but we start doing something totally different? Then you can make a change also. And for instance, in one of the archetypes, the daily vlogger, I talk how this idea of showing their rhythm, their daily rituals is also sort of a way to follow a daily structure that is somehow the agenda of like our society, the platform. So wake up early, go to work, it's all related to production. But what if suddenly we start actually talking about other routines that are not the routines that we are supposed to do today? And so maybe our routines of like how was it, like the silence quitting, or like not working, and like I publish 24 hours of my day where I just lay down in bed, for instance. What if we try to somehow create narratives that go beyond what is the agenda of like somehow the capitalistic society? And so I feel like it's impossible to, of course, destroy this platform at this point, and I really don't think, also with my work, I can, okay, now we change everything. But at least maybe if even one person realizes how the dynamics are working, also just one person, I believe, can make a change. So,
from the perspective of workers, that everybody is a worker here, do you also then follow all the terms and conditions, and when all the news comes, like, do you follow that, like actual legal background?
Legal backgrounds?
Yeah, like from the TikTok updates their terms of conditions,
okay.
And or maybe like how do they monetize videos, stuff like that. Do you also, is this also your interest?
It's not my main interest, but it's also part of the project. For instance, I was exploring a bit how people would monetize within TikTok, so subscriptions or rewards, or actually also like what are the requirements to monetize, because you just don't enter the platform and you suddenly can earn money by uploading a video, but also like how much followers you need to have, how many views you need to gather, and that also makes you realize that it's always it's almost like it's very difficult to start monetizing without really working a lot to actually gain that position in which you can monetize. And so this is another layer, of course, again, of exploitation, of pushing people to upload and create more data for the platforms and so on. So, and of course, also like some countries can monetize, other countries cannot monetize. So there are many different layers. I talk about it a bit in my work. Maybe it's not the main part of the projects, but of course it's also part of the research, yes.
In what way you find that your project is connected to this year's festival?
I think it's mostly about the cosmology, like this idea of creating a cosmology of worshippers for the algorithm. So it's a sort of, in the end, like a social media platform is also a sort of cult, like in this case, the algorithm is God, and people tend to give agency to something that doesn't have an agency, like, again, the algorithm, while maybe we should put more focus on the people behind it that are actually working on this platform and using them for non-ethical purposes. And so maybe the hope is also to somehow, it's like when you go to a cult and you start telling people, please wake up, go out of this, or try to do something, like realize that you have agency. So I feel like maybe this could be like the mysticism related to the project, but also like the idea of the rituals, or not just like of the specific archetypes of, for instance, the daily vlogger, to the rituals of showing what you do daily, but it's also like the ritual of posting, of scrolling, like this big scrolling becomes a sort of a mantra, and I think that's relates somehow to the exhibition. Yeah.
Joining me now is artist Pedro del Real with 𝗓𝗏, the holiness in the machine.
Yeah, with this 𝗓𝗏, it's like the third iteration of an ongoing performance. It's a lecture performance in which I talk about the holiness in the machine, and the idea, there's some reactionary thinkers that think that the men behind technology, like the Elon Musks, etc., are like divinely touched, and because they can only do such cool things and be so successful if God is on their side. So there's this whole theory, or like this whole approach. So I present this approach in a very preachy way, and then I lose faith during the performance, and then it turns into a Luddite trial. So, like the Luddites were these people, in the 19th century England, that destroyed the machinery from factories, very misunderstood for a lot of time. They were used in liberal propaganda because they were seen not only as like primitivists that were against technology, but their technology critique is very refined and very interesting, and it's for the last years, I think, with the wave of technology criticism that we're living, they have been kind of revived and rediscovered. And
it's like a comeback.
It's a comeback. Then I think like a lot of more and more people are considering themselves Luddites in this sense of not like there's more people living behind this more anti-technology discourses that people like, for example, the Una bomber had, that it was just against technology, back to the roots, but it's more about how we use technology, which was actually the initial discourse of the Luddites. They were not per se against technology, but they were against how they saw that technology was really destroying their communities.
So what was your inspiration for this project? Like these groups that were against technologies, or maybe entry with this holiness?
Yeah, actually no, it began like really as a very, very lecture performance thing, where it was a lecture about the Luddites, kind of putting them from a contemporary perspective, like seeing like kind of putting the ideas of the Luddites in connection with the current criticisms of technology that there's like of, for example, like hegemony, like all these like super capitalist billionaires that control everything, surveillance capitalism, etc., etc., etc. And then I put them together, and it was like this lecture. But then what I discovered, it was like like researching, I discovered these thinkers, these reactionary thinkers talking about the divinity of these technologists and how they were so godly in their endeavors. And then it turned into more a preachy thing. But my first idea was like, I want to make something, and then how I do my performances, it's a lot of times I'm playing between the how to, like the technique, like how will I interact with the audience, what will I present, because my main medium is PowerPoint. And these PowerPoints then are accompanied by some theatricals.
Why the PowerPoint exactly?
PowerPoint is the most beautiful medium that we have, as a human species. It's a medium that invites to a constant experimentation. It has this visual aspect that I really enjoy playing around it, but it has also like video aspects. You can use sound when you're giving a presentation. If you play well with it, not just like these typical presentations, so slide, but if you play with it, it's like you have for very cheap a whole scenography. And cheapness is very important for me, because like in the whole scene, there's not like you have to be very top to have a lot of money for production. So PowerPoint gives me also like the way of having top production done by myself.
Yes, I guess it shows the level of one's creativity, because yes, you can make it very boring and dull, or you can make a performance.
Yeah. That's the whole idea, no? And there's like even people doing video games with PowerPoint. There's like great RPGs that you can play just using PowerPoint. It's like I think it's a great medium. Or like, and for me, it's because I started doing performances coming really from this lecture. Said like before moving to Vienna, I was really the literary scene in Barcelona, and it was very typical to do talks and to political talks and stuff like this. Then I came to a country where they didn't speak my language. Then I had to turn to English, and just to feel more. And then I discovered the performance at the theatricals. Yeah.
So tell me more about your performance here that will happen today in the church. I saw some candles, one book with different archive papers.
Yes, it's divided in different acts. The first act is a preachy, very celebration of the great men. So we talk about Elon, we talk about Bill, I talk about Mark Zuckerberg, all these people in very celebratory parts. Then there's a moment where I celebrate the chip as the new cathedral in this new religion. But then I also go down and say like you have to have more connection with the members of your church. So I do like an analogy with that the Pope sometimes cleans the feet of their people. So instead of cleaning the feet of the audience, what I do is like I ask them if I may clean their phones, and I have the honor of cleaning their phones. And this is like a very beautiful moment, because like last time, for example, people were online waiting to get their phones cleaned. And then there's like some music I've made, I've generated, talking about the phones, about Bill Gates, about everyone. Then I will sell the candles that you have seen. They are votive candles, so they are candles that you can buy from me afterwards. And then, for example, there's a candle that if you turn it on, it will help the virality of your posts. Or in case you are like very done with always having rage bait in your feed, I have also a candle against rage bait. I have a candle against
like being cancelled.
I have a candle against shadow banning. So they are all like candles to help. They are votive candles. They are magic candles, And then the trial comes, and then there's violence. And then I will invite the audience to put the technology on trial, and then I will embody, hopefully, the rage and destroy through with hammers different technological garbage that I've brought from Vienna.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask if you have extra technology to destroy, or
yes,
will be
all this technology, it's like ethically sourced in the sense of like they are like certified non-reusable electronics. And I get them, I have the luck that I get them from work a lot. I work at a very big research institution, like science, and there's a lot of electronics that just don't work because of too much use. And then I bring them, and then I destroy them. There will be today, the sacrifice in the menu is a monitor, a mouse, and a motherboard.
So the items that are already displayed?
They are displayed, they will be destroyed. And I have 2 hammers, so there will be like, there's some hammer, one hammer is more about the visuals, the other hammer it's more the efficiency. So there's... Yeah.
So all the ruins will then be back to the exhibition space? Or?
This you have to ask the curators. I have no idea. It could be great, but I don't know what they want to do it, because of course, like I want to sell the candles too, so I don't know if how many candles will I sell. If I will will I really sell them or not? Do I want to or not? I don't know. There's many open questions still.
Before you were talking about how today we have a comeback of people who are maybe coming to be against technology. Do you think it's not actually about technology, but it's more about those rich guys and about capitalism and
I think
about
so.
different classes and stuff like that?
I think so. I think that there's like, of course, it's technology itself can be great. I think I have nothing. I love technology. That's one of my issues, is that I have great memories using technology also. No, it's like I grew up with technology, but I think the biggest problem is like how technology is offered to us and what opportunities we have, no, and what's valued. And this, of course, it's like a mirror of ideological systems in which people live, and then if they are fed up with the system itself, they will be fed up with everything that is reproducing it. No,
people who are born today, and also maybe our age also, we are intertwined with technology from a very young age. Mm-hmm. But before, the 𝗘𝗏𝗏, before that, technology was something new.
But it was not, because they were like textile workers. They were using like different machines to make their whole critique is not about technology itself. It's like about how this then, like instead of having a piece that will make the whole like textile come and turn into a rope, for example, that you have like these frames that will just put people out of work. So it's not the problem is not the technology. I think like we should.
It's a social problem.
It's a social. And it was always. Yeah. Like for me, it's like it was always a social problem. They will try to call people Luddites and say like, oh, you are against progress. But they are against exploitation. They are against oppression. Progress is great. I think like no one says like I'm against progress. I don't know. It's how progress is manifested. Yeah.
What about your other projects now on your Instagram? I only saw illustrations and comics.
Yeah.
What else do you do that maybe people can take a look?
Mostly like little cartoons, and now I've been writing a little bit more. There was some little stories published, sci-fi. I'm now really, I want to do this performance way more, because it's like, for me, it serves not only an artistic function, but also a political one. So I really want to use it as a kind of a propaganda machine. Right now, my big project, at least artistic, is like to focus on this and make it more available, and maybe every X time go somewhere and do this performance. Yeah.
In what way does this project connect with the theme of this year's festival?
I think because I'm very influenced also by conspiracy, by ritualistic aesthetics at least, and some ideas too. It really meets. I think like I think this happened because Davide, like one of the producers of this festival, was in one of my performances randomly, and I think he saw there that there's this connection, because like how I present it, it's like really in this very ritualistic, very mystic way. So I think this comes very well together with the topic of the festival this year.
Thank you very much. See you at the performance.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to co-destroy stuff with you.
Thanks. And to conclude, we are joined by a member of the Linz-based collective Stadtwerkstatt, this year's focus at the festival, who are presenting their project 𝗘𝗏𝗃 is the media at the Media Nox Gallery. So for someone that is unfamiliar with your work, who are you, how many members are in your group, and what do you do, and how would you maybe briefly introduce this project that is represented at the festival?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm Tanja Brandmeier. I'm here with two colleagues of mine, with Taro and Ralf Petersen. The three of us are part of Stadtwerkstatt. It's a cultural initiative in Linz. Actually, it exists quite long, since 1979. So, and it has, since the early days, a history of early media art projects. So, Stadtwerkstatt is really part of media art history, also of, you can also say it's part of the history of the city of Linz. So in these days it was very important to do other things, new things, to create something. So it was a very different situation then. But what stayed over the long years is constant work on media arts and doing critical statements. We run a lot of things actually in our initiative. We have many departments, as we call it now. We run a music club which does, I think, 100 or 120 concerts per year. We publish a newspaper which goes out 4 times a year, and we do a lot of media art projects, cooperating a lot. And in the House of Stadtwerkstatt also 2 more initiatives, associations are located as Radio Froh, the local radio station, also came out of Stadtwerkstatt, and the net culture initiative 𝗟RE 𝗍𝗏𝗄, which is known quite good here in the context of FMRU now, because Davide Bevilacqua, one of the curators here, is running 𝗟RE 𝗍𝗏𝗄 now.
Can you just please tell me more about this work that is now today in Media Nox Gallery?
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
So because you already presented in Linz this year, part of it. So maybe just explain a bit how this project is divided and how it works, and where the folk comes in.
Yeah, we exhibit at Gallery Media Nox some parts of a work we did last September in Linz already. It was a spectacle in Linz. We did a folk bowling event on 2 evenings, and people were invited to come for this spectacle of reduced foresight, diffuseness, dissolution, etc. So we brought there in this festival what we did in Linz, also the question, what is the media today, what is the relevant question maybe, what are the things we want to work with, or how the critique could be, because we as artists, we do such a lot of work and critique over years and years and years, and I sometimes have the feeling, everything is getting worse and worse. So I tell nothing new here in contexts like this, but for us it was the question, what statement do we want to make, and what is the question of what is the media we want to work, or what is the situation nowadays. So we did a statement that the fog is the media, some kind of diffuseness, or this whole, we also made a statement like flooding the zone with fog, so making things invisible and in both sides, maybe as a strength, but also, of course, as a critique of anti-democratic developments, totalitarianism, etc. So, but in the end, we wanted to make a spectacle out of it. And we, as I said, we invited people to come for fog bowling. It was a situation where we projected pins on a fog cloud, so actually they were not there, and they were dematerialized somehow, and people, there was a text, invited people, so come for fog bowling, enter the alley, please think about that the fog is the media and the fog is the media in you, try to understand this, and now please count down bowl. And the happening only worked when people perfectly synchronized with the machine somehow, and people were really happy and had fun with synchronizing with the simulation. So this is somehow, of course, a critical statement, but it was interesting to see how people experienced it. And most of them, they had fun with synchronizing with the fog bowling machine.
So this document of this event can be seen in Media Nox, right? There's a video of people actually bowling. Maybe my question was, why bowling in particular? Did you before discuss any other sports maybe?
The question about sports is not so important for us. The situation somehow, ideas manifest per accident or somehow. There is one connection to our media archive, because in Stadtwerkstatt there was already a bowling situation, a bowling project in the 90s. So in this context, we could quote that also somehow, because for us it's also important to show the continuity of artworks and how also different generations work in different styles and with different content somehow. So that's maybe the one connection why bowling, because we liked it then that there is a connection also to a Stadtwerkstatt past project.
And maybe why fog? Whose idea was it to incorporate fog? Was it first the fog, or maybe first the idea of invisibility and non-definable visible space?
Let me say maybe one sentence first, because Stadtwerkstatt is still an artist-run space. So not only I am an artist in Stadtwerkstatt, also the others who run the space. We do a lot of normal organization stuff and working on their house's infrastructure. But we are also artists, and especially with the fog, I did a work I think 10 years ago, and it was a projection also on fog, and it was also a theoretical aspect in it, as this actor network theories which exist, and I created I declared the fog as a medium and a network then, long time ago. And when we started the project this year, we talk a lot about what we do, which media is the right for now, and so we also are quite experienced in somehow creating other media, or this mycelium as a media and network, and nature as an information system and network. I think even 𝗟𝗏𝗏 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃 does a lot of coding the water. So the question of taking something out of nature or somehow a network diffuse system and declared as medium like fog, it's somehow interesting because we even don't have the full answer. So it still remains an open question, what is quite interesting for working in a really imaginative way, what is really quite important for artists, and not only for artists, that we have this situation where ingredients and medias where which create open systems still. So open questions. What do we do? Do we allow to ask ourselves maybe a little, crazy stuff also? Because, the fog is the media, Let's talk about it.
On the technical side, fog, is it challenging, like to make fog actually then on the exhibition? Because so you make it by smoke machines, right? Did you have any special technical issues, or maybe did you do some research on how maybe make this fog as foggy as possible and how to make it pleasant?
That's an interesting question, because creating a lot of fog is not the problem. So it's a question of what machines you have. But the interesting question is how the fog, it's more about the space where the fog is. So for us, it was very important to create a situation in a space where still a projection is possible. So because when you just blow fog in a room, it gets so dense that nothing is happening. This is actually also quite interesting for a music club scene, or also some scenes who really want to create this situation of real dense fog and seeing nothing. So we also did this in the nightline shows. But in this art project, it was the main thing was to think about how can the fog be in a stable situation somehow that the projection can work as we want it. And it's not so easy. At the fog bowling situation outside, we found I think quite good solution. You can see it then in Medianox. But when you work inside a room, it's really interesting to see the fog as you're also a co-artist. He's also an actor. So not to use it as, it's fog like a fabric or something, but to see fog as a medium network and also as an actor. We project on fog, and we still are not sure what it really does. When people come in, there's the air is moving, and so situations become different. When we did it outside in Linz, big wind came and it was raining, and air pressure is different. It's really interesting how things work in August or in November. You don't even know, and that's quite interesting when we talk about these non-human actors. Everybody talks about non-human actors, but what is a non-human actor, and how is the work with like an entity? Let's call it entity, and this point, not only material, but the entity of fog as a being, maybe.
Yeah, it's unpredictable.
Yeah. And that's also a good thing, because I think one of the main things and main importances is really the open systems. In society, in art, you see it all around what is happening, this prediction, this try to predict everything and make money out of it, and power, and you see it's really a political disaster, yeah.
What about the piece that is upstairs?
Yeah, we decided when we were asked to exhibit and to bring Stadtwerkstatt projects, because we are in focus exhibition. It was quite challenging to decide what we should bring, because as I said, we have such a long history, and so collective works of many people, artists and critical producers. So in the end, we decided to bring some references from the, let's say, last 10 years. And we decided also as reference to the title here now to build some kind of broken altar. So we brought a big fabric actually, who defines the room now in Medianox, which is a reference to our club room. It's the FOH, front of house. The technicians, they stick a timeline of every show back to it, and we liked it because it smells like tobacco and alcohol. And it smells like actually 20 years of concerts and subcultural performances. And one thing is we brought a very large book of newspaper Versorgerin, in which also exists at 1993. And I think it's 40 centimeters high and really big. And we decided then to put it together, all issues we have. So it's also a historical media historical approach somehow, because you can read a lot of texts about development of media networks, frequencies, all this development of that people could use media as a sender, not only the monopoly of the state. So it's a very dense book of everything Stadtwerkstatt did, but also a lot of people around, and there are a lot of texts about media art and also from elsewhere. So this is maybe, as in the beginning I told you, that we do music and newspaper and discursive media, and also we brought then some art projects which came out of Stadtwerkstatt Info Lab, which is doing research about information in technology. We brought some mycelium, we brought some quotes on earlier projects, like one which was called Blood Proof of Life, where you could prove your life as alive actually. So but in the end, in the first floor, it's a quite analog exhibition, and the context of media and digital art, it are there, but only as context. So there's a lot of playing around and building this broken altar of critique and new media art and some contexts and so on.
Apart from that you are in focus this year, and apart from first floor, how does this 𝗘𝗙𝗙 medium project connects with this year theme and the title of festival?
Yeah, when you see this projection on 𝗘𝗙, for example, which is, for me, we talk so much about simulations of in the context of artificial intelligence and this whole development of tech and so on. When you see these projections of the pins on the 𝗘𝗙, it's actually quite spooky. And
like a ghost, right?
Yeah, really. And the project which I told you I did earlier, 10 years earlier, also projection of 𝗘𝗙, I projected myself on 𝗘𝗙 doing always a loop of movement, and there you can see it even better, that it's quite like a ghost, or it's a spookiness, or this, it could be a part of a hauntology somehow. And so this almost disappearing, almost manifesting something, this in-between situation is also this diffuseness and unclearness is a really good connection to this esoteric ekotechnics. Also with it's a really good ground where everything could grow, good and the bad. It's really some kind of spookiness. Also, how the media disappears somehow. It dematerialized. Everything is getting smarter and smaller, so you even cannot recognize or see the media. So I think it's quite nice to make this connection of these diffuse projections, like a little bit ghosty and spooky, and sometimes clearer, sometimes not so clear, total unclear. So I think it's a good connection to this esoteric ekotechnics, also in this question behind with simulation, synchronization, the machine, and so on. Thanks a lot.
Prišli smo do konca epizode o festivalu MFRU. Upam, da vam je uspelo kaj pogledati v živo, če pa ne, pa vas vabim, da se omenjene projekte ogleda na spletu. Vsem poslušalcem in sogovornikom se zahvaljujem za pozornost in namenjen čas. We have come to the end of this episode dedicated to the MFRU festival. I hope you had a chance to experience some of it live. If not, I warmly invite you to explore the mentioned projects online. I would like to thank all the artists and curators for taking the time to speak with me and all the listeners for their kind attention.